You know what's interesting? Even if you played college football, say, in the swamp known as Gainesville, you never get used to this heat. Ever. Ever. As a matter of fact, I think I know a guy who played in the swamp at Gainesville, and he's joining us right now, and he even has his handkerchief going like this. He'll be the first guy to tell you you never get used to it. A guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, at least he's in the pride of the Lions. He'll get in the Hall of Fame one day. My buddy Lomas Brown kindly joining us. Lo, it's a pleasure to see you, buddy.
Hey, it's great being with you guys, man. Like you said, a little warm, but we can handle it. We can handle it.
This is my guy, Anson Lomas.
How are you, Mr. Brown?
All right, hey, look, every blade of hair is just laid. I like that, man. No blade of hair is out of place.
I appreciate
like
that. I didn't have the mirror, man. I appreciate it.
Looking good.
Likewise, man. You look like you could play.
Oh, hey, look, the money they make now, I wish I could get out there. I wish I could.
No doubt about it. Well, I'm going to lead off here because I was watching Receiver. I binge watched it yesterday, and I heard your iconic voice in there with your partner Dan, and I had this idea. You and Rick, Detroit Muscle, together on a show. Ooh. You two embody what it was to be a Detroit player, whether things were good or bad. You guys have stuck with this city ever since. I'm just such a big fan of you both. It's really an honor to be sitting here talking to you. Talk about what it means to Detroiters, you being here for so long, because I know that you've heard an outpouring from our fans and from the community of how much it means that you have stayed here, gotten your feet dirty in this city and watched it come to its renaissance that it's in now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been awesome to be a part of it. It's been awesome to see the growth of this city. Think about some of the things we've been through, right? This city went through bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. We came out of that. The car industry, it's up and down sometimes, but we have a tendency of surviving that. And we seem to always come back stronger, better as a community, as a fan base. And I think that's what it means to be a Detroit Lion fan and to watch this team and be part of it, is that you're going to have some tough times. You're going to have to pick yourself up. But we always seem to do that. And like I say, we get better, we get stronger from it. And you can see it now. The city is like at its best right now. I mean, we had the draft here, almost 1 million people were here, and they had a great time here. The Detroit Lions, what they're doing now, it's just amazing to see what happens when your sports team is good, how this community follows.
Lomas, I was telling these guys, this is even before we knew we were going to have you on. I remember vividly when we were both working for the network at the time, you, me, and our mutual friend Nick Roddy walking out of the locker room in November of 2019. Mm-hmm. And you knew it was over.
Yes.
It was all, the heads were down, and we were sitting there going, we got 2 months more of this. Imagine what those guys in the locker room are doing. You've had a front row seat. I can't think of a complete top-to-bottom culture change like we've seen here in the last 5 years. I don't think enough is being said about what Brad and Dan have done to this franchise.
Yeah, and Sean, give Sheila Hamp Ford a lot of credit too, man, because she empowered them to do what they did. She's basically turned the reins over to them and say, hey, you guys run it the way you need to run it. And you're right, man. It is so, I get a little jealous sometimes because if we would have had the front office that they had now with the talent we had back in the 90s, I mean, we could have far exceeded what we did. You know what I'm saying? So you see that it takes everything. It takes the front office, the coaching staff, the player. It takes everything for the organization to run the way it's been running. And you're right. They've done a great job, Brad. It's a lot of big decisions to be made coming up soon. The cut deadline is tomorrow. It's going to be some guys that are here that won't be here, and this is going to be some new guys that they find on the waiver wire that they'll bring in here. But they've been great additions, and I love the thing they say is that you have to be they're just not taking players. You have to be the type of player that they want here in Detroit, and I don't think I've ever heard that before.
1985, you're the number 6 overall pick. Hard question. I want some serious truth here. You're coming from Florida up to the D. So when you were picked and they said that you're going to be a Lion, how did you truly feel at that moment?
So to be completely honest, I hadn't heard from the Lions until 2 picks before they drafted me. They never worked me out. I never talked to a coach, administrator. The first time I talked to the Detroit Lions were 2 picks before they picked me, and they said, if this happens and this happened, we're going to draft you, and this happened and that happened, and they ended up drafting me. So Darryl Rogers was on the phone with me, and he was like, congratulations, you're a Detroit Lion. And it was like this awkward silence that was on the phone. I was more in shock than anything else. And then he was like, aren't you happy to be a Lion? And I was like, oh, yeah, I am. But it was more the shock that they picked me because they had come from completely out of sight. It was nothing that told me I was going to be a Detroit Lion. But I tell you what, that was the best thing ever happened to me. I just looked back at my career, looked back at the guys that were drafted around me and said, man, for me to team up with a Barry Sanders, get the block for the greatest.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it couldn't have worked out any better for me.
I say this all the time. Lomas Brown kindly joining us. I look at you. I look at Herman. So many of your teammates. You guys, you played here. Many of you went elsewhere. You got a chance to win a Super Bowl elsewhere. But you decided to make Detroit home.
Yes.
And there's so many athletes like that, Lo, in the football world, in the hockey world, in the baseball world. What is it? You're a guy from the Miami area. You got a chance to play all over, but you made the choice to stay here.
Love, man, I'm telling you, man, I tell people that Detroit or Michigan is more of a tourist state than Florida is.
Yeah.
Man, there's just so much to do here, man, from the waters to the dunes, the picturesque when you're going up north and the changing of the leaves and just everything. The agriculture is great here. Man, we 5 minutes from Canada. It's just, man, it's just so many great things to love about Detroit. So I always say, I tease a lot of my homeboys back in Florida. I'm like, man, look, I'm in the tourist state. Y'all got the citrus down there, and you got the elderly down there, but we got everything else up here in Michigan. And man, I couldn't be no more happier. I'm a Michigander. I turned in the Floridian citizenship, so I'm a Gander now. Yeah.
I got to bring this up very quickly though, Anson. Canes and Gators. How great is that?
Look, Sean, it's only great if we win. It's only great if we win. If we lose to the Miami Hurricanes, it's not going to be great, man. So Napier, come on, my good man. We got to get that program down at Florida going again.
Oh, that's great.
Can we get a Super Bowl prediction from you?
Oh, yeah. Look, Super Bowl or bust. I'm serious.
Amen.
I've said this since the end of last season. I don't think you could get a half away from getting to the Super Bowl and at least not get back in the NFC Championship game. I think that's the floor, is the NFC Championship game. If you get to the NFC Championship game, you might as well go ahead and win the whole thing. So, to me, the floor is getting back to the championship game. I think we should win the Super Bowl this year. And like I say, we were a half from doing that last year. So that's my expectation. And I know it is with Dan Campbell, those guys sitting in that locker room over there, those guys over at that organization. That's their expectations, whether they say it or not. They want to be in the Super Bowl and want to win a Super Bowl.
Lomas, I know you got a lot to do. KG, you want something?
Yeah, I just wanted
Talk
one
to
quick
me,
question.
KG.
Listen, I know we got a really tough schedule this year. What game are you most excited to call on this schedule?
You know what? That's easy. The first one.
Oh,
the first one.
Bring him home, yes.
Man, Stafford to come back up here because you know he got revenge on his mind.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, and have you seen the commercial with him and Kelly on the sleep number bed?
No, I haven't.
He likes it comfortable. She likes it a little firm. So she in bed at night telling Matthew, look, we owe them, Matthew. They booed your kid.
Yep.
They hit you real hard when you came back there. They didn't show me my respect that I think they should have shown. So she's stirring the pot in the background. So that's the game I want.
I love it. I love it.
Lo, I know you got a lot to do, but open invite, bye-week barbecue again.
Oh, yeah.
And you can bring your brother.
Okay.
Listen, his brother, I watched that man eat more wings in one sitting.
I know.
More than him?
No, it was his brother.
Yeah.
More than Lomas.
No. And he's smaller than me,
Wow.
too. He's a little fella, too.
He had this smile, and you did a good job when he smiled and he goes, can I have some more wings? And I'm like, Gary, you can have as many wings as you want,
You're
man.
right, too, Sean.
No, but
You're right.
open invite. You know that, my friend.
I appreciate that.
Let me get
my
one
good
more
man.
question in here. I wanted to ask you for a long, long time because so many times we have heard you ask what it was like to block for Barry Sanders. Who was the second guy that you enjoyed blocking for most? Because you just barely missed Billy Sims. It was James Jones was the playmaker when you came in as a rookie?
Yep, he was. Yep, and me and James played together at Florida for 2 years before the Lions drafted him up here. That's a great question because I've never been asked that. It's always who's the best. It's never. That's a great question.
Good job,
I probably would have to say, Tiki Barber. Tiki wasn't bad when I was with the Giants for 2 years.
Stud.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good blocking for Tiki and everything. And we had some success with the Giants. Got to the Super Bowl. Didn't win it, but we got there. Did you know they give you a ring for losing the Super Bowl? Now, they call it an AFC or NFC championship ring. I call it a loser's ring because every time you look at it, you know you lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you don't wear that one, do you?
I don't know where that ring is. I know where the Super Bowl ring is, but I don't know where that NFC championship ring is. But, I would say Tiki Barber.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
The great Lomas Brown kindly joining us. He's, of course, Lions Radio Network. He's on WJR as well, and he should be down in Canton soon. Hopefully you can make it over. All the boys are watching. Bye week. Hopefully you can make it over.
Yeah, that'll be great. And I know y'all talked about this great cause that we're out here for,
phenomenal.
man. I've been coming out here pretty much every year, and it's always great to see some of the fellas out here, Buddha, Ron Harper, a lot of the guys, athletes come out, and it's just a great cause. So I appreciate the Children's Miracle Network, appreciate Mr. Wahlberg, what he does, man, and appreciate the Detroit Golf Club for what they do.
No doubt. We appreciate you, Lo.
See how I got that in there?
He's sneaky.
Professional.
Absolute professional.
There you go.
There's a pro.
All in.
Lomas Brown kindly joining us
thanks,
here
Lon.
on Woodward Sports Network. Great guy, no doubt
Legend.
about it. I say all the time, and I know I've said this to him, it's funny because I think one of his teammates doesn't get the credit he deserves at wide receiver because of the guy that came after him. I don't think people realize how good Herman Moore was.
Oh, man.
People don't, Herman Moore's almost like an afterthought because some freak named Calvin Johnson came after him. And you brought up the other name. I will say until my dying breath that Billy Sims is one of the best running backs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his career was shortened, and some absolute freak by the name of Barry Sanders came shortly thereafter. But because of that, I think both those guys maybe don't get the love that they deserve because of who came after them.
Is that kind of like how we forgot about Matt Stafford already?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly, Stick.